Bánh Tiêu, also known as the Vietnamese Hollow Donut, a classic street food in Vietnam. There are lots of recipes out there, but how do you get them crispy on the outside, soft, hollow, and airy on the inside? The recipe I'm sharing today will give you Bánh Tiêu that's just like the ones from a bakery. And honestly, even better. There's nothing can compare to a batch of freshly fried donuts. Let's get started and make some delicious Bánh Tiêu. Let's start with 50 milliliters of milk. Then warm it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. The milk should be slightly warm, so the yeast can activate more easily. Then add half a teaspoon of sugar. The sugar helps feed the yeast and keep it active. Next, add 1 teaspoon of instant yeast. Actually, you can add the instant yeast straight into the flour, but I prefer to activate it first just to make sure it's alive and active. Then cover the bowl and set it aside for about 10 minutes. Give it some time for the yeast to activate. Now for the dry ingredients. We will need 400 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 100 grams of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of milk powder. Adding milk powder makes the Bánh Tiêu more flavorful and creamy. If you don't have it, that's totally fine. You can leave it out. Then give everything a quick mix, just until all the dry ingredients are evenly combined. After about 10 minutes, your yeast should have a foamy layer on top. That's how you know it's active and ready to use. Now go ahead and add the yeast mixture to the flour. Next, I'll add about 200 milliliters of water, pouring the water in gradually. Use a spatula to mix everything together first, just until the water is absorbed into the flour. Then we can start kneading until the dough comes together into a rough ball. I'll pour the water in slowly to make it easier to adjust the amount, because the exact amount of water can vary depending on your flour. Newer flour usually absorbs less water, while older flour tends to absorb more. So we just need to adjust the water accordingly. The total amount of water can range from about 180 to 200 milliliters. Today I'm using about 200 milliliters in total. Then we will add half tablespoon of cooking oil. You can also add the oil earlier, at the same time as the water and yeast if you prefer, and continue kneading briefly so the oil is fully incorporated. Then transfer the dough onto your work surface to make kneading easier. Give the dough a good knead for around 15 to 20 minutes. If your dough feels too wet, you can sprinkle in a little extra flour. You will know the dough is ready when it's no longer sticky and feels slightly firm but still elastic. The dough doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, just soft and pliable. Then we can place the dough into a bowl and cover it. My room temperature is around 22 degrees Celsius. I usually let the dough rise in the oven with the oven light on. It helps the dough rise a bit faster. Then let the dough roof for about an hour and 15 minutes. And the dough doesn't have to double inside after roofing. A little puff is enough. You can see that the dough has risen and formed lots of tiny little air bubbles. Look closely, and we can see the delicate gluten strands inside. Honestly, this is such a satisfying stage to see. Then transfer the dough onto your work surface. Lightly oil your work surface if necessary, and gently knead the dough for about a minute to release any large air bubbles. Then we can divide the dough into equal portions depending on the size you want. The dough I have now weighs a total of 742 grams. I will split it into 10 pieces, each weighing roughly 74 grams. Then we can fold each piece into a smooth ball. Use the size of your hands to press the dough until it's smooth and sealed. Then cover them with plastic wrap or kitchen towel and let them rest for another 10 to 15 minutes before shaping. And of course, white sesame seeds. I'll use about 40 grams. First, flatten the dough slightly with the palm of your hand. Then place it onto a plate of sesame seeds. And we can press it gently so the sesame stick evenly to both sides of the dough. Now we can use a rolling pin to roll the dough into a round shape. You can roll the dough thin or thick as you like. If you roll it thin, the inside of the bánh tiêu will be hollow. If you roll it slightly thicker, the center will be more filled. It's really up to your preference whether you like a hollow center or a thicker, more substantial inside. I'm going to do all 10 pieces and keep them on the side. While rolling out the dough, you can get your frying pan ready with oil. I use medium heat, around number 6 on my stove, and let the oil heat up gradually. To check if the oil is ready, you can dip a pair of chopsticks into the oil. If you see little bubbles forming around them, the oil is hot enough. And just before frying, I give each bánh tiêu another roll. I prefer my bánh tiêu airy and hollow, so I roll them out thin. And I find they puff up more easily this way. Carefully drop the bánh tiêu into the oil. You can gently move it with a pair of chopsticks. And after a few seconds, it will start to float. When the dough starts to set, we can gently flip it over. And be careful, too much force and it could tear. And here's a really important step. I spoon hot oil over the top of the bánh tiêu with a ladle. This little trick helps the dough puff up and form that perfectly hollow and airy center inside. And we can check and keep turning the bánh tiêu to make sure both sides get that beautiful golden color. From my experience, the technique for frying bánh tiêu is really important. If it's done incorrectly, the inside will not puff up. So no lovely hollow strands, and the dough can get dense and heavy, not fun to eat. Follow this method and you will have a successful batch of bánh tiêu on your very first try. I'm keeping the video at normal speed so you can see how the bánh tiêu pops up when I spoon the hot oil over it. I have tried a few different ways before, and most of the time the dough stays dense and flat. This method is by far the easiest way to get it right. And also with this method, the bánh tiêu stays slightly crispy on the outside. Even 3 or 4 hours after frying, they still hold their crispness, just like when they were freshly made. I hope that if you follow along, you will end up with delicious bánh tiêu that's puffed up nicely and hollow inside, with those airy strands. Even better than what you can get at a bakery. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy making bánh tiêu with me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment to support our channel. Happy cooking and see you next time.